Yeah, my name is Meel Velliste. Um, I'm the VP of Engineering in Fivetran, and before this, I used to be in academia. I used to do research in brain-computer interfaces. I was also an individual contributor at Fivetran prior to becoming a VP of Engineering here. Yeah, so Fivetran is a managed data pipeline. It's basically your one-click solution to getting your data from all your data sources into a single data warehouse, and it's zero configuration. You can just put in credentials for your data sources, credentials for your data warehouse, and within minutes you can be syncing your data. Yeah, so the company is currently about 110 individuals. Out of those, 35 are engineers. I was the first engineer that joined. I was the first employee after the founders. So out of my 5.5 years at Fivetran total, I became VP of Engineering about 2 years ago. That's when we started to experience the need for rapid growth. And so my primary role has been to just make that growth happen. Our product vision and our what we need to accomplish, was very ambitious, and so we need to hire a lot of engineers fast, and so that was part of my responsibility, along with keeping that growing engineering team productive as we grow. Yeah, so what I'll be talking about is Fivetran's journey of the engineering team's growth. As I joined as the first engineer, and now we're over 30, and so the process of that growth has gone through various pain points between the fact that we're geographically distributed across different time zones, and then communication challenges between time zones, as well as the dynamics of the team growth. Yeah, so when I joined Fivetran, aside from our CEO, I was the first engineer, and we're currently 35 engineers, and they didn't really start growing until 3 years ago. For the first 2 years, we were just throwing spaghetti at the wall with the three of us, but then once we found that product market fit, then we started growing extremely rapidly. One of the main reasons why we suddenly needed a lot more engineers was to build connectors. Fivetran's core business is about connecting to all the possible data sources out there. And so initially, once we had found our product market fit, we had only a few connectors implemented, but then we already had the vision. We knew that we need to implement hundreds. And so we just went on a hiring spree. And not to mention, we had ambitious plans to also build cross-cutting features that span all these connectors. The thing that I really wish I would have understood up front was that sort of dynamics of how to keep engineering teams productive as it grows. When teams grow, you need to somehow get more. Either every team becomes infinitely large, or you need to subdivide the teams and get more teams, right? And so there's this question of how do you make that happen, and how do you organize it dynamically so that as a team grows, if you split it, how do you then make sure you have enough expertise on each team and leadership on each team? So the way that we grew our India team is we went and talked to some startups that had done it before. And they advised us that the key thing you got to do is, rather than go to India and start hiring people, you got to just find one key person, a key person who's an experienced team starter specifically, and then get them to do it. Someone who's local, someone who knows how to do it there, and that's what we did. We went and found that person, and then we had them grow the team, and it worked wonders. Yeah, so our engineering organization is distributed across 3 geographic regions. 10 engineers here in the head office in Oakland. We have over 20 engineers in India, in Bangalore, and we also have a rapidly growing team in Russia now. The division of work between teams depends if you're talking about between geographies or between the smaller teams, which are Scrum teams. So between geographies, the only division we have is our Russia team specializes on the front end. Our India and Oakland teams are actually doing mostly all the same things or the same kind of things. Our individual Scrum teams are organized based on just functional areas within our product. We just sort of carve it up arbitrarily, making sure that each team is responsible for specific things, but not so much worrying about what kinds of things each team has. We use Scrum within our sprint teams, not very formally, I wouldn't say. Fivetran's engineering history has been characterized by continuous learning, and I myself don't come from a previous engineering management background, so I've been learning as I go, and so have most other people here. So, you know, Scrum is sort of something that we discovered along the way as a good method to use, and we adopted it. And in terms of like the larger organization between teams, I would say at this point it's still somewhat haphazard, and we're still figuring out what's the best way to do that. Our approach overall is, you know, just make small changes to process, don't just change everything at once. You know, try to use what others have learned out there and try to adopt it piecemeal depending on what suits us. I found that it's really hard to schedule meetings with people in India. There's a 12.5-hour time difference or an 11.5-hour time difference depending on the time of the year. And it's like exactly opposite in terms of the clock, which means you can only have meetings in the mornings or evenings. And what I found is that it's extremely tiring to do that long term, to have these morning and evening meetings. In the morning, you know, I'm not a morning person, and in the evening it's family time, and so it's just hard. And so the thing that I learned from that is that it's really important to get good at other forms of communication than having meetings. So Slack has been a primary communication channel for us, as well as just writing things up really well, like in terms of GitHub issues, which we use for our issue management. Just getting really good at written communication, as well as writing good training materials, so you don't spend a lot of time training across the ocean. Everything we have is cloud-based. We used to be all AWS, now we're making a big push toward Google Cloud. We have a bunch of code written in Java. We have continuous integration and deployment. We use Circle CI for that. You used to just have these custom Java processes that would run directly on EC2 instances in Amazon. But then as we've learned more about how things are supposed to be done in the cloud, we're now moving toward a Kubernetes-based deployment. Top tools that we find indispensable are IntelliJ for Java coding. It's extremely helpful with all the auto-completion features and auto-generate features. And also GitHub. We find that GitHub is really indispensable for us to maintain our source code, do the reviews, as well as we use it for issue management. And I think that it is underrated for issue management.